Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we're going to have a lovely discussion about my new book with Janna Sweenie called Celebrating Beyond the Hands, the Completion of the ASL Linguistics for Practitioners Trilogy. Today we celebrate the completion of a project 7 years in the making. The third volume of the ASL Linguistics for Practitioners series, Beyond the Hands, Non-Manual Grammar, Discourse Structure, and Sentence Types in American Sign Language, co-authored with Janna Sweenie, is now available. This episode explores what the book is, why it matters, and what it reveals about language, embodiment, and the nature of human communication. Let me begin with a claim that may seem strange if your experience with language has been limited to speaking and listening. The face is grammar, not expression, not emotion, not accompaniment. Grammar. In American Sign Language, the eyebrows mark the difference between a statement and a question. The mouth produces morphemes that modify meaning. The head nods and shakes with grammatical force. The eyes point to reference and track agreement across discourse. The body shifts to mark perspective and emphasis. These are not optional flourishes. Many are obligatory. Omit them and you haven't merely signed awkwardly, you've signed ungrammatically. You've said something other than what you intended, or you've failed to say anything coherent at all. Consider this. In English, I can say "you're tired" as a statement or "you're tired" as a question. The words are identical. The punctuation in writing, the intonation in speech, tells you which one I mean. But the words themselves don't change. In ASL, the manual signs for "you tired" can also be statement or question. But the distinction isn't carried by something peripheral to the language. It's carried by the face. Raised eyebrows, widened eyes, a slight forward lean. That's a question. Neutral face, that's a statement. The face isn't commenting on the grammar. The face is the grammar. This is what Beyond the Hands is about. The grammatical system that lives above the neck. Some listeners may know the earlier volumes. Arm angles in American Sign Language examined the physical production system, how the positioning of the arm, the involvement of proximal and distal joints, the biomechanics of movement all contribute to meaning and register. Depicting Space examined the spatial grammar, classifier predicates, the use of space for reference, the distinction between topographic and syntactic spatial organization. Why 3 books? Why this particular division? Because ASL competence has 3 dimensions that are often undertaught. The first is physical. Signers need to understand what their bodies are doing and why it matters. The angle of the elbow isn't arbitrary. The size of the signing space isn't just personal style. These physical choices carry linguistic information. The second is spatial. Signed languages use space grammatically in ways that spoken languages do not. Understanding this system, truly understanding it, requires extended analysis. The third is facial and discourse level, and this is where learners most often struggle because it's the dimension most foreign to speakers of spoken languages. We don't use our faces grammatically when we speak English. We use them expressively, paralinguistically, socially, but not grammatically. The transfer of that assumption to ASL produces signing that may be manually accurate and grammatically broken. Each book can stand alone, You don't need to read them in order. But together they provide a comprehensive framework for understanding ASL as a complete linguistic system, not just a collection of hand movements. The series is called ASL, Linguistics for Practitioners. That phrase is deliberate. These are not books of pure linguistic theory, though they draw on linguistic research. They are books for people who sign, advanced learners, refining their production, interpreters developing their accuracy, educators seeking frameworks for teaching what is often taught impressionistically, or not at all. The theory serves practice. The analysis supports performance. This matters because there's a gap in the field. Academic linguistics produces sophisticated analyses of ASL structure, but those analyses often remain inaccessible to working interpreters and serious learners. Practical instruction produces competent signers, but sometimes without the analytical framework that supports self-correction and principled development. These books try to bridge that gap. Rigorous enough to be accurate, accessible enough to be useful, practical enough to improve performance. Here's something that surprises people. The books contain no photographs, no illustrations, no video links, text only. For a book about a visual gestural language, this seems counterintuitive. How can you describe facial configurations in words alone? How can you convey the timing of a brow raise through prose? We acknowledge the limitation. No verbal account of raised eyebrows fully captures what raised eyebrows look like. No prose description replaces seeing the thing itself. But we maintain the text-only approach for a reason. Written analysis develops a particular kind of understanding that visual demonstration alone does not. Watching a fluent signer shows you what to do. It doesn't necessarily reveal why or when or what distinguishes one configuration from another. The work of reading about non-manual grammar, of following analytical arguments about scope and timing and function, builds analytical capacity. That capacity supports self-correction. It supports error diagnosis. It supports principled extension to new situations. We encourage readers to supplement the text with video resources. But the analytical work of reading builds competence that watching alone does not. Beyond the Hands is organized in 5 parts. Part 1 examines the grammar of the face, the eyebrow system, mouth morphemes and mouthing, head position and movement, eye gaze, body position and shift, and how these articulators integrate into coordinated configurations. Part 2 addresses discourse structure, topic and comment, reference and cohesion, narrative organization, conversational structure, and register variation. Part 3 examines sentence types, questions in their variety, negation, conditionals and hypotheticals, and complex sentences with embedding. Part 4 covers special topics, tense and aspect marking, quantification and distribution, and fingerspelling integration. Part 5 applies these principles to professional contexts, legal interpreting, medical interpreting, and educational interpreting. Each setting presents distinct challenges. The stakes are different. The discourse conventions are different. But the underlying linguistic system remains the same, and understanding that system deeply supports accurate performance across contexts. The book concludes with frameworks for self-assessment and continuing development. Because mastery is approached, not achieved, and development continues throughout a professional lifetime. I need to share with you some information about my co-author and beloved wife, Janna Sweenie. Janna is deaf, born deaf, a graduate of the Iowa School for the Deaf. She holds a master's degree in deafness rehabilitation from New York University and has spent 35 years teaching ASL and interpreter education at the post-secondary level. Her perspective shapes everything in this book. Her native signer intuitions verify the linguistic claims. Her decades of teaching experience identify what learners struggle with and what explanations actually help. Her position on contested questions, like the status of English mouthing in ASL, reflects deep knowledge of the language and the community. I bring a writer's attention to structure, an educator's commitment to clarity, experience in curriculum development. But Janna brings what I cannot: native authority in the language we're analyzing. The collaboration works because we bring different things. The books are stronger for it. Let me address one contested claim in the book because it illustrates something important about what we're trying to do. Chapter 3 takes a position. Mouthing is not part of ASL's grammatical system. Mouthing, for those unfamiliar, is the silent production of English words on the lips while signing. It's common. Many deaf signers do it in various contexts. Some researchers argue it's become integrated into ASL through long contact with English. We disagree. Or rather, we make a distinction. ASL has its own mouth system. Mouth morphemes like the MM configuration, the TH tongue protrusion, the CHA mouth opening, for size modification. These are genuinely ASL. They derive from the language itself. They carry grammatical meaning within ASL structure. They function differently from anything in English. Mouthing, by contrast, imports English into the mouth channel. It's code mixing. It's contact. It may serve communicative purposes, but it doesn't participate in ASL grammar the way mouth morphemes do. Why does this distinction matter? Because learners who conflate mouthing with ASL mouth grammar may never develop the actual mouth morpheme system. They fill the mouth channel with English patterns and never acquire the ASL patterns. The distinction supports pedagogical clarity. Learners who understand it can make informed choices about their mouth behavior across contexts. We know this position is contested. We acknowledge the debate, we explain our reasoning, but we take a position because a book that hedges everything teaches nothing. Here's what fascinates me, stepping back from the technical content. Signed languages reveal something about the nature of language itself. They show that language is not essentially auditory. It's not essentially oral. Language is the human capacity to create structured meaning through whatever channel the body provides. Deaf communities, excluded from the auditory channel, created complete languages through the visual, gestural channel. These languages have phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. They have poetry and humor and register variation. They have everything spoken languages have, realized through different articulators. And in doing so, they reveal that language is deeper than any particular modality. Language is what humans do. The channel is secondary. The face is grammar, the hands are grammar, space is grammar, the body is grammar. Language lives wherever humans need it to live. That's not just a linguistic observation. That's a statement about human nature, about what we are, about what we do. Who should read this book? advanced ASL learners who have conversational competence but want to develop grammatical precision. The book will show you what your face should be doing and why. Interpreters who want to improve their accuracy. The book addresses the non-manual dimensions of interpretation that often receive insufficient attention in training. Interpreter educators and ASL instructors who teach non-manual grammar. The book provides analytical frameworks and terminology for systematic instruction. Linguists interested in ASL structure from a practitioner-oriented perspective. The book synthesizes research into accessible analysis. Anyone curious about how language works when it works through the body in space rather than through sound in time. Beyond the hands. Non-manual grammar, discourse structure, and sentence types in American Sign Language is available now through Amazon in Kindle and paperback editions. It joins arm angles in American Sign Language and depicting space. Advanced classifier morphology and spatial grammar in American Sign Language to complete the ASL Linguistics for Practitioners Trilogy. All three books are published by David Bowles Books and available through bowlesbooks.com as well as major online retailers. The face is grammar. That's not a metaphor. It's a description of how American Sign Language works. The eyebrows mark questions, the mouth produces morphemes, the head and eyes and body carry grammatical information that is as essential to the language as any hand shape or movement. Beyond the Hands examines this system in detail for practitioners who need to understand it, produce it, and teach it. 7 years of work, 3 volumes, 1 comprehensive framework. The trilogy is complete. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a smart evening and a brilliant tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Be a human meme.